Everyone, it's Miss Rebecca. Today we're going to create this beautiful illustration of a mermaid sitting on the beach in the moonlight by the ocean. Check this out. You're going to use crayons, markers, watercolors, masking tape. If you have anything like this, like sand or shells or little pebbles or rocks, yarn for the hair or string, anything that you can find, you can use it. Okay, the first step is we fold our paper over on the top, and we're making this straight line from side to side. That line is going to be the horizon line. Take your pencil and just draw that straight horizontal line following the fold from side to side. And that is where the sky meets the ocean. Okay, now take a circle to trace like this cup, hold it down, and drag your pencil along the outside of the circle. So that way we have this perfect circle for the moon. Then we're going to make 3 blob shapes. One is very small, like this one. The second one is a little bit bigger. It's medium sized. And then the third one is your biggest blob shape, and it's going to go right off the side of the paper. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So we have 3 clouds and a moon. Now we're going to do this cool masking tape trick. And this is to make the illusion that light is hitting the ocean from the moon. Okay, so let me break this down. You're going to take the masking tape and rip it, okay? And then you're going to stick it along long ways like this from side to side. And some of the strips might be a little fatter, some might be a little skinnier, but they're all going horizontal or from side to side. And I'm just tearing the tape into strips. I'm making sure that there is space in between each strip. Okay? And as I go down, the strips are going to get shorter and shorter. But we're making sure the strips are spaced out and that the strips are underneath the circle of the moon on the top. Because what this is going to do, it's going to leave a white mark once we peel the tape off. And it's going to look like there's light hitting the ocean waves. So just a little masking tape trick. Now let's say you don't have masking tape at home. That's okay. You can do this exact same technique with white long horizontal lines on blue. And you can use whiteout, or you can use white crayon, or you could use white oil pastel. Anything white that you might have, you could use if you don't have masking tape. But I just wanted to show you guys this little technique. It's a masking tape technique that is used with watercolor paint. And it's pretty neat once you start to peel off the tape. So I'm just tearing up little pieces of tape. Notice as I get to the bottom of the paper, the tape is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And that's good. So I'm almost to the bottom, and you see my pieces are getting smaller and smaller, and I'm just tearing it. I'm just tearing it from one side to the other. And again, it doesn't have to be any perfect size, but they do have to have space in between each strip. Okay, now I'm going to take the masking tape and do little tiny pieces of masking tape, like little dots. And this is going to represent the starry night, because we're going to make a night sky, and the stars are going to be shining around the moon. And I'm going to do this masking tape technique so that when we peel off these little pieces of masking tape, what we're going to be left with are perfectly white spots. Now, let's say you don't have the masking tape, then just do this with an oil pastel or a white crayon or white out or white paint if you have it. So if you don't have masking tape, you don't have to do it, but if you do, great, give it a shot. This masking tape technique is done with watercolor paint, and you'll see how it looks at the end. When we peel off all this masking tape, it's going to be these little white parts of the picture, and it's going to look like stars. Okay, now I'm going to take that white oil pastel, and I'm going to make these little spider legs that are coming out of the little pieces of masking tape. So I'm just making little marks coming out like spider legs. It's going to look like the stars are shining. And it's, again, a technique that we use with watercolor, because the white crayon is going to resist the watercolor, and we'll be left with these magical shining stars in the night sky. So I'm making these just little marks that are coming right out of the masking tape pieces. I'm also going to fill in my moon with white, and I know you can't really see it because it's white on white, but this just makes it a little easier when you paint, so that way the paint won't get all up on the moon. You don't have to do this. And also, you could make your moon yellow, which I'm going to make my moon white, but you could make yours yellow as well, and that will also look really nice. I'm going to also color in all the clouds with white, and I made a whole bunch of little marks all around the moon just to make it look like the moon is shining. Okay, so you use this white, and then what magically happens when we paint, the paint resists the crayon. So give it a shot if you have it. Okay, now we're going to start to draw the mermaid. The mermaid has an oval for the head. The oval is going to go right on top of the horizon line. See that? Right there. Notice the oval is different from the circle. It's like a squished circle, and it's also like a grape shape. We're making 2 lines for the neck, and we're going to make a big rectangle. A rectangle is like a square, except that it has 2 longer sides and then 2 little short sides. So we have a rectangle for the body, and then this is the fun part, is let's create the tail. So make a curve coming off of that rectangle, and this is the top half of the mermaid's tail, and she's going to have her tail bent. So this is the bottom half of her tail. It's a little bit skinnier than the top. Ooh, there we have her. She's going to be sitting down on a rock. So we're going to make sure that she has bent tail. Now, for the bottom, you see the fin? Okay, we're going to add a fin, just like a fish has, because she's a mermaid with a mermaid tail. Then we'll add the arms, and when you think about an arm, think about it in 2 parts, the top of the arm and then the bottom of the arm. And there's the elbow where the arm bends. When you make the hand, don't get all frustrated. Just make a shape of a mitten. That's okay. And if you want to make detailed fingers, you can do that later. So the other arm, think about it like the top half of the arm and then the bottom half of the arm. This arm's going to come straight down, and then again, just make the shape of a little mitten with a thumb. We can worry about fingers later. And that's the basic shape of the body. Now I'm going to make a long curve, and the curve is going to show where the mermaid is sitting, oopsie, on the sand. I'm going to have to tape this so that it stays put. Okay. There we have. The last part of the drawing layout is this wiggly line right here. It's like a blobby shape that comes up from the bottom of the paper, and I'm going to do it twice. This blobby organic shape is 2 pieces of seaweed, and make sure you erase a little bit if you're overlapping or if you're on top of your mermaid. All right, now the fun begins. Let's start painting. We're going to do the sky first because we're going to work from the top first and then to the bottom. Okay, so let's start with blue. Now I'm just taking my water, I'm activating my blue watercolor, and I'm going around the circle very carefully. But I don't have to be that careful because I colored the moon in with that white, so it's resisting the paint anyway. Now what you're gonna notice are all these little cool marks that are appearing, and all the marks that are appearing are from the crayon resisting the water. So I'm going around the moon first with blue, and then I'm gonna go around with purple, and then last I'm gonna use black, because this is gonna be a night sky, kind of like Starry Night, Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. So we're gonna use black for all the rest, and you're gonna see all your little stars shining through. You're gonna go around the clouds, and we're just gonna very carefully go around each cloud with the black. We're gonna stop at the horizon, and the horizon line is that fold. So hopefully that fold will help you stop, because you'll remember to stop right there. So I'm going all around, and once we peel off the tape at the end, you're going to see those stars really shine, because there'll be these white spots where the stars are. But we have to wait until this dries before we can pull any masking tape off. So it should look something like that. Now we're going to do the bottom. We're going to color the bottom first, because we have to let the sky dry. So I'm going to use a marker to color in my seaweed. Now you could pick any color you like for your seaweed, and you could use crayon, or you could use a marker like I'm doing. You could also use watercolor or colored pencils. Anything you might have at home to color with is just fine, because this is a mixed media project where we're using all different types of materials to get a final beautiful result. So there's my maroon colored seaweed, and now I picked a lime green color for my other seaweed, and I'm using marker, and I'm going to fill it in. And I'm doing my best to stay in the lines. Beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to color that sand with yellow or brown. I'm going to use crayon now, just to change it up a little bit. So when you make a sand color, if you mix brown and yellow together, you can get this sandy color. I'm adding some little fingers here with my pencil. If you want to add fingers, just split your mitten shape into little finger hot dog shapes, and you'll have fingers. So I am now coloring the sand, which is that curve shape that's under the mermaid. And I'm going to do a light brown crayon first. And I'm going to make sure I do all of this area. So this is all the sandy beach area. All with my light brown. There we go. And then I'm going to take my yellow next and put the yellow crayon right on top of the brown crayon. And I'm going to go the opposite direction now. So I was coloring one way, and now I'm going to color the opposite way. I just find that it makes a smoother, solid color if you do this. So take your time. Okay. Now it's time to do the water. Now I made sure the sky is very dry. before I did the water. So I'm making the water blue on the top, and then I'm going right on top of the masking tape, but I'm painting around the mermaid's body. So first I'm going to do blue, and then I'm going to do purple, and then I'm going to do black at the bottom. Change to purple now. Allow the purple to blend with the blue. And make sure to paint right on top of the masking tape. You're going right over it. Go ahead and let the blue blend with the purple. Now change to black. Black will be the final color in the water. And we're going all the way to the bottom of your paper with the black. Now you have to allow this to dry before we can peel off all of the masking tape and all of the stars. Let this dry. Now we're taking our fingers and peeling off the tape. You really had to let it dry first to be able to do this part. But this is very satisfying to peel off all these little pieces of tape. And what you're going to see are these white strips. And the white strips will look like waves shining in the moonlight. Now take your fingers and peel off all these little tiny pieces where the stars are shining in the night sky.
Someday wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where
Now you're going to color in the skin of the mermaid. And you can use either a tan or a brown, or any color, really. Any color at all. But I'm going to use this tan color that I happen to have. And if you want to use brown, you're more than welcome to use brown.
someday wish upon a star, wake
do the tail. You can use any color. I'm using an aqua color marker to outline around the tail and around the fin. You can use any color, green, purple, any color at all. You could also use a crayon. Now, draw the letter U. Repeat the letter U over and over to make these scales throughout the whole tail. And once you get to the fin, just draw these slanted diagonal lines through the fin. Now I'm going to use water, just straight water right on top of this. And if you used crayon, the crayon will show through. If you used marker like I did, the marker transforms into paint. Look at that. And then if it's too much, you can always dab it with a napkin like I'm doing here. I'm just dabbing it a little bit because I want to see those U shapes. Now, let everything dry, and what we're going to do is put glue inside the entire oval, the entire head shape. I filled that whole oval. Now we're going to use this yarn. Any kind of string or yarn that you might have. Cut little pieces, and starting at the bottom of the oval, start to attach your little pieces of yarn or string or whatever you found. Now let's say you didn't have any of this stuff. That's okay. You could just take a color like red paint or orange or purple and just paint in the hair or draw in the hair. Be creative. I just happen to have this red yarn, so I'm going to use it for the hair, and I'm attaching each piece all the way across inside the entire oval head shape.
It's crystal clear, I'm where I'm meant to go. And at last I see the light, and it's like the fog has lifted. And at last I see the light.
Take your glue, and what we'll do now is scribble inside the beach area with your glue. So you're just scribbling with the glue right on top of the brown and yellow color that you put in there for the sand. Take the sand and we're going to drop and sprinkle the sand on top of the glue. Just sprinkle it all over. And if you don't have sand, don't worry about it. You don't need this, it's okay. This is just an extra topping that makes our artwork have texture, makes our artwork have a feeling. But if you don't have it, don't worry about it. Just watch the video. It's very satisfying. I happen to have shells as well. So if you have any shells, or anything like a pebble or little rocks, you're going to take glue and make big dollops of glue or big blobs of glue onto the beach area and press your shells or your pebbles right onto the big blobs of glue, and we'll let all of this dry and set. Now, notice where her hand is sticking up right here? I'm going to put a big dollop of glue, a big blob of glue right there on the top of her hand, and then I'm going to stick something special right in her hand. I happen to have this beautiful conch shell, so I'm going to put it right there. Now for the hair, we're going to give her a hairdo. You can make any kind of hairdo you like, and I'm just going to start to overlap one piece of hair over the next so that the hair kind of makes this big, long, flowing mass that goes down her back. And you can do this any way you like, okay? You could even give her a ponytail if you have a little elastic, or a bow. You could stick a bow on there. But make sure you're pressing down, and we're gonna also give her a haircut because her hair is a little bit too long. So make sure you trim it with some scissors, and I like to cover the whole back of her body with the hair. Just like that. She has long flowing hair. And then I take some glue and I cover her entire back with glue and then press all of the hair right onto it.
I can explain every natural phenomenon. The tide, the grass, the ground. Oh, that was Maui just messing around. I killed an eel, I buried its guts. Sprouted a tree, now you got coconuts. What?
And for a little added texture, I'm going to take my glue and make those U shapes up, all the way throughout the tail. You don't have to do this part, but if you happen to have glue and you have some cool little texture things that you could stick on there, like little beads, these are actually little fish stones that you'd put in a fish tank. And I'm sprinkling them onto the glue of her tail, so she has a feeling, a texture to her tail. Again, if you have pebbles, use them. I'm going to add a few little pebbles all over the bottom using big blobs of glue and then spacing them out and now pressing each pebble onto the glue. And we're going to let this set to dry. Everything is set and dried, and it's time to shake it off. Shake off all the excess, and wow, it looks amazing. Try out this project and post your work or a picture of you creating the work on Google Classroom. Thanks, guys.